guys, it's Marianne Farley. Today we're going to be working on using a very simplified grid. I want to make this as basic and as simple as possible. Now, how many times have you come across, say, a picture like this in a magazine, and you would love to do this girl? And you get started, and it may go well, or you may get something that you like, but you wish it could be just a little bit more accurate, even if you're doing something whimsical. Well, what I've discovered is that just putting down the most basic grid guidelines can be a godsend. I mean, you don't have to do a million 1-inch squares. I'll show you what to do as we get into more detailed sections of a piece. But as you can see, this is a very simple image. There isn't a hand in it, which makes it a little bit more complicated. But again, really easy with a grid. But for today, I just want to keep it really simple. Now, I've used 2 different phone apps to guide me here, which I will talk about in a separate tutorial. Which ones they are and why I'm using them the way I am. So this one is called, what's it called? Well, it doesn't matter. I'll get into that later, and the info will be in the description anyway. But as you can see, I've decided, and I just did this in the app, and so I don't even have to draw it. It printed out for me. I actually, I think, did a screenshot and then cropped it and put it into my graphics manager, bfunky.com. You may use Canva or whatever, but I just put it on an 8.5 by 11 size document, and here we have our girl, and she's already divided. So she's basically divided into 4 squares. Now there's 2 half squares down here. If you wanted to, you could just cut her off here, or you could do that half a square there. Now we're going to do like 1-to-1 here, but the beauty of doing squares, in my opinion, as opposed to maybe some other ways that are out there, and they confuse me. Like when Karen Campbell, my favorite teacher, was explaining the quad method. It's great for 1-to-1, but I couldn't really grasp what would happen if you started to enlarge it. Now, but when you're dealing with squares, if you have a larger canvas, well, it's still going to be a 1-to-1. Well, not in size, but a perfect square here will be a perfect square here if it's much larger. Okay, so I'm using app number 1 for this, and then app number 2 has this really unique feature where you just hit a button and it gives you the outline. It takes all of the color out and just gives you the basic outline of the piece, which helps you see what's going on in your boxes even more. And what I did here, I didn't even get my ruler out. I mean, I already had these lines printed out, but then to give myself a little bit more detail by creating additional boxes, I just folded this over here. And you could even just draw along that line freehand. I mean, these boxes do not have to be perfect because we're not going for an exact image here. In fact, once I actually do my piece, I'm going to be enlarging her eyes. Now let me just show you an example of what I've been doing. Okay, well here's a piece I did, but her eyes are the same. I did alter her somewhat, but for example, here's the original of this one, And you can see as I got into her eyes, I started making smaller boxes. I'll show you how to do that. But I really changed the whole look of her face. Funny enough, the piece I didn't grid, I just did this freehand. I kind of like that better. But anyway, this one was also from an image, but I don't have... Hold on one second. Oh, here's another one. And you can see here is the original photo, but then I completely altered her face to something that's more my style. But what was great was that I was able to grid these hands and do a picture that really conveyed how I was feeling. Now, I would not be able to draw this from my head in a million years. But having a reference, and even more than that, having a grid on a reference was even better. Now, I have a whole separate tutorial just on this piece with doing the hands, but I haven't posted that yet. Do I have another one here? I don't know. Oh, here's another. Oh, I love her. But I have to find the original for this one. But, okay, so now you've got the idea of what we're shooting for. So what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to just take a quick, just turn this off for a second because I want to outline her in red just to make her a little more clear. Hold on one second. Okay, so we're in the time-lapsed portion of this now, and as you can see, I'm just sketching in smaller boxes, just doing it freehand. I'm numbering my rows and numbering my columns and lettering my rows. And as you can see, I just darkened a little triangle there. And that's the kind of thing you're going to look for as you grid in your image. As you can see, I'm also needing more help in certain areas, in which case I just divide that box into quarters again. And you're going to be so surprised at how much guidance this provides. Instead of drawing a large image, what you're actually doing is drawing multiple tiny images that you're then connecting together. And for me, it's just so exciting because you literally can draw anything you want by learning this technique. Now, by putting these boxes in freehand, obviously I'm not shooting for ultra accuracy here. I don't care about getting an exact likeness of her because I'm going to morph these images into, or these features rather, into what I want her face to say. I mean, the model is expressing herself, the photographer is expressing himself or herself, but I want to use sort of the outline of this girl to create something that I ultimately want to say. So I'm just, getting in her dress, and I don't really need a lot of guidance in those boxes because the image is much simpler and I don't need to break it down into multiple boxes. So here again, I'm just getting her features placement, and in a second I'm going to start, well, here I'm starting to do it here where I'm enlarging her eyes, and basically I'm just going to keep drawing until I feel that it's saying what I want it to say. And there's really no way to to give guidance on this other than to say, when you're doing it, as you can see, I'm experimenting with eyebrows. These eyebrows look sad, but as I go through this process, I'm gonna say, no, that's really not what I'm feeling. I'm feeling something else, and I just keep going with my drawing until it feels right. An artist friend years ago told me to get the drawing part of your painting right. Make sure you feel really good about it before you move into painting. Now, as you can see here, I've just narrowed her neck. I usually like very long necks, but in this instance, I'm just going to narrow her neck and lengthen it a little bit and drop her shoulders just a couple of centimeters, and I'm just going to keep playing with the expression on her face until it says what I want it to say. Now, this exact class is, this time-lapsed version is a free download at Art and Soul School. It's also available in real time as part of a larger class which covers this painting called Shadow Girl. And in that course, we will draw this in real time, and there will also be a real-time lesson where you can watch me paint this with gelatos and some other mixed media tools as well. So I'm pretty happy with the drawing at this point. If you do want more information, just go to the description and I'll have links to the free download, which means you can do this class offline anytime you like. And there will also be a link to the entire course, which also includes the coloring of this. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me. See you next time.